Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a card to share that features some fun techniques with translucent embossing paste. I'm going to be creating the grassy area here on this card, as well as the sun and the clouds. So to start off, I've picked the Make a Scene stencil from Simon Says Stamp. It's a great stencil with some great sun and cloud and different elements that you can use to create your own outdoor scene. And I'm going to be using Wendy Vecchi translucent embossing paste, as well as Glitter Ritz glitter. I'm going to be using a green and a gold color, and what I'm going to do is going to just grab a piece of a Ranger craft mat. I have a few of these different sheets, and I have some cut down to a smaller size for when I just want to work in small areas like this. And I'm just going ahead and putting some of the embossing paste directly onto the craft mat. I have two different areas because I'm going to be using two different colors of glitter, and I don't want them to mix together. So to start off, I'm using the green, and with this technique, whatever glitter you dump onto the paste is actually going to be not usable anymore. So you don't want to put too much at first. You can always add more, but once you've dumped it on there, you can't put it back into the jar. And now that I have it all on there, I'm just went ahead with my palette knife and just kind of mixed it all in so that I have a perfect consistency between the glitter and the embossing paste. And it doesn't look like much now, but once it's on the card piece and it dries, you'll really see this effect. So I'm just positioning the stencil onto the card base that I have here. This is just Nina Solar White cardstock, and I've put it over some scratch paper just because I don't want to get any of the paste on my work surface. And I'm just using my palette tool here now and just kind of scraping that along the area where the grass is. This stencil originally had like a line area in between the two hills, and I cut that out so that it was a continuous area. I prefer that much more. So I just went ahead and put that on and kind of worked around with it till it got an even consistency, and then I'm just pulling my stencil off and I'm just going to let that go ahead and dry. And while that's drying, I can do my sun area. So I just folded that scratch piece of paper over and re-adhered the paper on there. And now I'm going to work on the glitter paste that I want to use for my sun. So once again, I'm just taking the translucent embossing paste and mixing it with the Glitter Ritz glitter and just kind of moving that around and getting it to the consistency and color that I want. I added a bit more there just because I wanted it a little bit more gold colored. And then I'm just going to go ahead and position my stencil on there and go ahead and add that embossing paste once again, just like I did with the grass area. And I just kind of move it around and reapply it continuously until I get it to the smooth consistency that I wanted. And it's not overly thick. I didn't want it super thick, so I kind of just ran the knife across there so that it was pretty much the same level as the top of the stencil area. And then once I have both of those completely on there, I'm just going to go ahead and carefully remove that stencil and then set those aside to dry. And then while those are drying, I'm just going to go ahead and work on the clouds. And for those, I'm going to be using the shaved ice from Stampendous. It's a really fun product. It's just kind of like a really soft confetti, and it has a really great iridescent shine to it. It's just like little flakes of, it's hard to even describe. It's just like a soft material. And when I add this to the embossing paste, it's going to create kind of like a texture. You can see there as I'm sprinkling it on how airy and light it is. And when this is going to be a little bit different from the glitter that I already added, because that's super fine, it blends really well with the embossing paste. Whereas this stuff here is a little bit more textured and thicker material wise. So as I mix that into the embossing paste, you can kind of see that it leaves it somewhat chunky, and you can't really tell a whole lot that there's really anything even in it as I mix it up, just because it's so clear in nature at the beginning. So this is definitely something you don't actually see the full effects until it's completely dried. But just take my word for it, it's going to work out. So you just go ahead and do the same and just kind of move that over the area. So I'm just doing clouds, and it's going to take a little bit more work to work with this just because of the chunky nature of it. It doesn't have the smooth consistency, so it doesn't scrape across the stencil as easily. And you may have to just kind of work around with it for a little bit. And then once I have those done, they're going to dry, and now this piece is already dry, and you can see the great color and the great shine that I have with those two areas that I did, and they are completely, the embossing paste is completely sealed that glitter in, so you don't feel any glitter texture. There's no glitter coming off. It's completely inside that embossing paste. And then here are the two clouds that I did. I hope you can see on the camera how neat these look when they're dry. You get this great iridescent look, and they're have a really chunky like texture feel to them. So just a really neat way to create some clouds for. the card image. And then because it's translucent, you see a lot of the white area in behind the clouds, and it lets that iridescent shine show through. So that's why it's kind of cool to use the translucent embossing powder versus white, for example. And then where the glitter is, you can see because the glitter is so fine and it fills the embossing paste so much, it really takes on the color of the glitter. So it's just a really cool effect. So now that I have all the pieces are dry and I'm ready to go to assemble the rest of the card, I'm just using Tumble Glass Distress ink and adding some color to the white area around my scene just to kind of make it so it's not so stark white and give it some sky color. So not a ton, just I'm using a really light hand and just kind of blending that around. And then to add some trees to the scene, I just have this die from Impression Obsession, and I just went ahead and cut a couple of trees out of some Simon Says Stamp cardstock. I used the green apple and the green leaf colors. I thought they blended nicely with the colors that I've already used with the glitter and the paste. And I'm going to use this Mama Elephant stamp set and use the Sending Smiles Across the Miles. I thought it was a really cute sentiment to go with the scene that I'm creating here. And then once I have that fully on there, everything is ready to be adhered to the olive cardstock mat, and I can go ahead and put the clouds on. So to adhere these, because they are a lot thicker in texture, I'm going to go ahead and use glossy accents to ensure that they hold well onto the card. And because one of them is being adhered over that glitter embossed sun, I just want to make sure that there's no chance of it falling off. And then to wrap up the card, I'm just going to create the card base that the panel is going to sit on. So I'm just using some Simon Says Stamp Sea Glass cardstock and using one of my favorite Hero Arts background stamps. It's an older one. I think it's called Dots and Flowers. I'll have it linked in the supplies below. And I'm just going to go ahead with sea glass ink and stamp that directly onto my card base, just for a little bit of some added detail, but nothing too much that will overpower the card because I want the scene to stay the focus. And then once I have that adhered to the background, I just went ahead with the Clear Wink of Stella and added some glitter to the 3 trees that I have on the card front. And then I also took a brown Copic marker and just lightly added a little bit of color to the tree trunk areas of the trees, just to make them look a little bit more realistic on the card front. And then before I wrap up this video, I just wanted to show you a couple of cloud images that I have. And these are just the result of me experimenting with the translucent embossing paste and mixing different things into it. So I just wanted to show you the results. So the first one here is just the glitter. That's the glitter bits, just like I did on the actual card, and it's the same green color I used for the grass hills that you can see there, and then the gold color is what I did with the sun. And then the shaved ice that I showed you is what I used for the textured clouds. And then these were some other ones that I had tried out. This is Perfect Pearls mixed into the translucent embossing paste. And I really like the effect that this gives. It really colors the embossing paste, and it gives a really cool shimmery look when it dries. So that's definitely one I'll try again. This one here was just silver embossing powder that I added silver glitter to. You can't really see the silver glitter, so it didn't really work out that well. And this one here is just distressed glitter, and you can see the difference because it's so much thicker that you don't get the full color effect that you do with the glitter Ritz. So that wraps up my card for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.